So I know My Isekai Life isn't a show that everyone is hyping up this season or everyone is enjoying, but I have to say, someone who's really enjoyed these past 3 episodes, it's not a masterpiece, it's not groundbreaking, but it is a very fun show with a character who, yes, may not show that much emotion, but plenty of popular shows have characters with not showing that much emotion. But I think the surrounding cast around him, especially these adorable slimes or Proud Wolf, who I think is unofficially my best character in this show right now, or even the couple of side characters that have been tagging along. This is one of those shows where I kind of look at it like the way I look at my meals that I eat throughout the week, or the video games I play throughout the week. Not everything needs to be the Mona Lisa of anime. Not everything needs to be a masterpiece. I think it's important to have those great dinners, great steak, a great cut of steak that you eat, and it's very enjoyable, but I don't want to eat that every single night. Sometimes I want technically not so good food for me, like hot dogs and hamburgers, right? Or it's just one of those things where I don't need everything to be Mass Effect level storytelling that I play video game wise. I can have something that's a little more simple and a little more fun, and I think every season it's important to have a couple of shows that maybe aren't trying to be the most groundbreaking thing that you're watching, but it's something that you know you can sit up, watch, have a cup of coffee, have a beer, whatever you're doing, and just know you're going to have a very fun time watching the adventures take place. And I think that's why there is so many popular isekai series that don't really break away from the mold all too much, and really just, they connect with a lot of people because they just want those simplistic stories. For me, I think it's slightly above that base isekai just because they are having fun with the slimes and everything like that, but it's not to say it's a revolutionary show by any means. But I have to say, I'm still very much enjoying it. I might make a video on this topic at some point, just the whole idea of like not everything needs to be a masterpiece, even though it does feel like a lot of people who talk about these shows, whether it's Reddit, whether it's videos, I think they're always expecting masterpieces and then they'll criticize them for not being it. But I mean, as someone who loves those very like, holy shit, the writing quality's fantastic, I like having a couple of shows this season that I'm just gonna have a fun time with and not have to stretch my brain all too much. And this is one of those shows for me that I really enjoy following. I think OP characters can be fun, and I think if it was just him casting spells, I probably wouldn't be as hyped up, or I wouldn't even say hyped up, but I guess excited to talk about this series as much as I am. But when you have a bunch of adorable slimes, mustache slimes, eye patch slimes, I think one's wearing leaves as like ears or something, I'm not exactly sure. You have Proud Wolf, who kind of seems like he does nothing but kind of carry the troops around, and those troops aren't even powerful by themselves, he's just channeling his magic through them. It just has a visual flair to it that makes it very charming, especially given that they make these creatures talk, and I love Proud Wolf's just voice of just, he always sounds like a shocked emoji. That's probably the best way I'd sum him up, and he just cracks me up. It's not to say he's useless, but I mean, when you compare what he did in this episode compared to like the first battle, it's definitely night and day. And I love the fact that he's just like running from a bear at one point and the slimes are just like, can you do anything? And then they do it and then he's like, wow, you guys are amazing. And then they admit that they didn't really do anything. They're just kind of like the catalyst, the thing that sends his magic through. Just such a fun thing. And I mean, there's not too many shows that come out that by episode 3, they introduce an apocalypse level threat. Like, in terms of pacing, in terms of world shit going on, this show's moving pretty damn quickly. I love the fact that there's not really a threat because given the fact that this man is literally a walking OP machine, he had to put on a magic limiter so his general fire and rock attacks wouldn't destroy an entire town when he just launches a basic attack. The fact that he clearly is going to be able to probably one-shot that dragon, I think we're going to walk into episode 4 and it's going to be the equivalent of fighting with one of your hands behind your back and a single finger decides to take out that dragon. But it's going to be fun to see how characters respond because the smart thing that this show did is that rather than going with what I've seen a lot of shows similar to this have done, where you do have that quiet, not too emotional character who is OP and will probably solve every issue that pops up. A lot of times there's not a fun cast surrounding them, and there also isn't a fun magic system to accompany them, both of which I think this show gets right. One, all his magic attacks go through his slime, so it's visually fun to see a bunch of goofball Rimurus just launch really cool looking attacks as Proud Wolf just kind of aids in whatever he does in the episode. And I think the overall system, like, it very much gives me an actual video game mechanic system where he's going through, like, you can look at the moment when they're sitting at the table discussing this dragon, this blue dragon. They say, hey, you saw it, can you explain what it looked like? He goes into his list of abilities, is like, oh, this looks pretty good, and he puts his thoughts, his image, onto a piece of paper. There's just a lot of really cool things with the magic system And like I mentioned at the beginning, there is a fun supporting cast. Like, not everyone needs to be cracking jokes. We don't need everyone to be goofing off to be funny. I think that's kind of what the Slimes and Proud Wolf represent, enough to elevate his quote-unquote boring personality into something that's charming to watch because he is accompanied by these really fun characters. And the couple of adventurers who are so far tagging along, I'm still not sure if they're going to stick with him for the entire season, just because he did leave his previous city after he got a little too kind of like, I guess, leaned on because he is so powerful. I mean, just the general people just knowing that there's this grave threat. It's fun seeing people both rely on him because they know how powerful he is, but also rely on him because they're just shit scareless at what should be an apocalypse level threat. But us as the viewers, and probably the Slimes and Proud Wolf know, he can probably deal with anything. Just look at the Earth Dragon. It was really clever how he decided to deal with that, because he's very scared of going back to that, like, original life of being depended on, because it basically was the death of him, which I still love the visual representation of his original life with that interesting art style. But the idea that he basically used the giant wind blast to cover up his demonic hellfire flame, and then in the process of them being like, wow, you know, you took what should be an impossible to break scale, and now all that's left is literally a skeleton. You must use the things underneath, the ore underneath. Yeah, sure, whatever you say. There's some very fun comedy from this dude without intentionally being like cracking a joke sort of a thing. And I just love the idea that when they come back to the guild, right, they can literally have a little slime that fits in the palm of your hand, throw a giant dragon skull, and also the bandit you captured from the other night, and it just naturally works out as you get the best payday one could ever ask for. Honestly, I don't know the exact currency in this world of what a room costs to rent in a night, but I have to imagine that if someone got paid themselves that stack of gold, I mean, that's probably like maybe only 1 or 2 more jobs before you can retire, I imagine. Maybe that's already retirement money, I don't know. But it's still, I mean, these characters I enjoy watching. I'm not here to say it's the best anime of the season or a critical masterpiece, but I love looking at it. I like the look of the world. I like the kind of like cool, calm, and collected nature of this character. If this is all we had, I would find him boring, but he's surrounded by such a fun arsenal of monsters, and I think the Slimes are absolutely adorable. Just look at the ending song, it says it all. And I like how he funnels his magic through them, which provides for a more interesting magic system than just having the kind of no emotion character stand there, hold his hand up, and shoot a fireball. While it is fun to see how he started to learn about his magic, like the fact that there's the crystal thing which exploded when he was being judged for his mana, and the fact that after he actually said fireball as he casted it and he destroyed the rock, he's like, yeah, I'm probably pretty weak, aren't I? There's some fun jokes with his character, but if it was just him, it would be a boring show. But for me, I think all the accompanying aspects about it really elevate it to being a very fun watch every Monday, but that's just me. Everyone has different opinions, and that's totally fine. I just think there's too many opinions that jump on the whole idea that if it's not a critical masterpiece and therefore it's trash, when not everything needs to be a 5-star dining experience. Sometimes you want McDonald's, sometimes you want a hot dog on the street, sometimes you want just a fine meal to eat, and to me, this is a fine meal to eat. Some people might call it fast food, some people might say it's worse than I'm saying, but for me, it's not something that necessarily is trying to be more than it can be, and I think that's perfectly acceptable, and that's why, you know, you don't need every Marvel movie to be Endgame. You can just have these fun movies that aren't trying to be the best of the best and leave the theater having a good time. But I just want to get that off my chest, because I see that a lot with anime, and it just feels like a couple of the shows this season that I think are fun to watch are getting a little too pounded on for things that they're not necessarily trying to be, which is a little unfair if you ask me, but of course, that's just my opinion. Let me pass the torch over to you. What do you think of the show? Are you going to keep watching it, carrying it on into episode 4? Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. Till next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.